Racing. Unbelievable missed the start. Massey Sovereign in the last 3 or 4 out of the gates, and Helios Express and Galaxy Patch from their wide draws are going to drag back. So the 3 fancied runners have all gone to be in the last 3 spots as Car Ying Generation with 1,300 metres to go. He's the leader. Massive Sovereign, Simple Hedge next, and Galaxy Patch last as Car Ying Generation ups it coming off the back. He has a big lead in the Derby. It's Car Ying Generation, 6 lengths in front. Massive Sovereign clears traffic now. He has 7 lengths to make up. It's been a dashing ride by Atzani. It's Car Ying Generation, Massive Sovereign. He's 2 lengths away. Car Ying Generation, Massive Sovereign, Galaxy Patch, Sovereign, Massive Sovereign. He wins it. Massive Sovereign for Zach Burton and Dennership win the Derby.
It was one of the epic Hong Kong derbies, and we saw a jaw-dropping performance. Sure, Massive Sovereign was good, and Zach Burton was at his brilliant best, but a champion stamped himself, and that was our man, Quinton Hutchison. An epic tipping performance, both in the derby and right across the card. Hello and welcome to the Triple Trio. James Tzaferis filling in for the absent Jason Richardson, and joined by a couple of stars. Hutchi, we'll start with you. That was some weekend. Well done.
Great. Thanks for filling in, JT, as well. Shane, we've got some hair back on the show with JT in the chair. Brought some class.
About time. Better looking bloke than that other bloke. That he's gone missing for a week. At least people might watch the show to see a few good-looking blokes on the show.
Well, I tell you what, Shane, great to, actually meet you and work with you for the first time. Hutch, you've been hinting that I might get an opportunity to work alongside you legends for a little while. But every time I get a sniff, Richo steps in and says, no, this is my gig.
He's worried about you. Don't worry about that. But no, look, getting back to the Derby, it was an amazing race to watch, wasn't it, Shane? It was something pretty special. I mean, it had a little bit of everything. I think the first 3 rides were all brilliant. We'll probably talk more about that in a little bit. But, Andrea's gallant ride out in front on Car Ying Generation, Zach sitting back, and then, of course, Blake on Galaxy Patch. But there's a lot to take out of the race, but I thought it was a fantastic event.
It was definitely, but the build-up to it was amazing because there was a lot of unknowns in the race. And I found this Derby better than most years because you didn't know, will these horses stay? There's no pace, then they go. I knew the winner had to go at the 1,000. I said that on the show last week to win. He did the right thing. He gave it a great ride, and it was just unfortunate. I didn't back Car Ying Generation. I had 3 bets, unbelievable. Star Mac and the winner in the Derby. But I was hoping at the 300 he would win the race, Car Ying Generation, because he did something different and it was exciting. And that's the only way possible that horse could have won the race, Clint.
Yeah, he's got form, of course, overseas, over further. And I think just quickly, I'm going to put out an article on Hutchi Sonka's website within the next few days, just about the Derby, the takings from it. But I think suffice to say, Shane, that we've got Galaxy Patch up to the trip. He steps up. He's a Group 1 horse, Massive Sovereign. The race is rated well. And we've got Car Ying, who's performed over Generation, who's performed over further. And that's not mentioning the likes of Chilby, of course, and Helios Express back in behind. I think all of those horses are going to probably take the next step and be competitive in some of the better races in Hong Kong.
You've probably missed the best horse in the race once he gets to 2,400. I had a good go at him in the Derby, and that was a horse called Unbelievable.
Yeah.
His run was unbelievable. It was a really good run. Once he gets to 2,400, he's going to be the new king of Hong Kong racing over 2,400, that horse. Maybe not over 2,000, as you saw in the Derby. The other horses have got too much sprint about him, but his overseas form over ground is very, very good, and he could go to the next level once he gets to 2,400 metres, Clint.
We've got a massive show coming up. We'll dive in and dissect the Derby in a little more detail later on. But people tune in to watch the Triple Trio for a number of reasons. Some may tune in to watch Jason Richardson. I very much doubt that. But they get plenty of insight. This is what they would have seen if they tuned in last week.
I'm with Massive Sovereign. I think he's got a great chance. I like the fact he's won 2,000 metres. I think second up's no issue. I'm not a massive believer in the second up syndrome. I will trust what Dennis Yip had to say, and I think he's got a great chance. Galaxy Patch is a Group 1 horse, but gee, it's a difficult assignment from where he's drawn.
So what have I got? I've got Massive Sovereign and Star Mac.
He's 2 lengths away. Car Ying Generation, Massive Sovereign, Galaxy Patch, Sovereign, Massive Sovereign. He wins it.
Loyal Bobo will jump, lead and be very, very hard to run down. Very impressive the other day.
Sky Trust and Golden Darcy. Loyal Bobo's in front though. The favourite's going to be too good and Loyal Bobo gets it done.
Yeah, make sure you get involved. We're going to have a good weekend, I think. I love the undercard in Hong Kong.
Murado runs on strongly. He's into second and then came Royal Pride, but California Totality is the winner. Kaying Rising is going to be too good for them, and Kaying Rising has beaten Call Me Glorious. The best peach, Holy Lake, he's run to second. CP Brave, he's into third, will get close to second, but the best peach is just peaches. It's Patch of Theta in front of Green and White, Magnificent 9, and Patch of Theta gives Karis the last two.
Oh, build the man a statue. If you followed Hutchi's Honkers last week, you'd be feeling very, very good about yourself. An absolute fill up there on a massive day of racing in Hong Kong. Plenty coming up on this week's episode of the Triple Trio. Hopefully we're going to find some winners in the Sha Tin card a little bit later. But catching up with young trainer JD Hayes, who's got a big weekend coming up.
Yeah, good to see JD coming on the show, and of course associated with Brightside. We've got a big weekend as far as the Whirlpool is concerned, because a couple of races from Victoria, a couple from New South Wales, and of course over to Dubai as well. So it's a bumper weekend of racing.
Yeah, plenty of international racing to talk about as well. But off the top, we're going to burst out of the gates. And so we start with that Hong Kong Derby win. Dennis Yip and Zach Burton teaming up, Hutch. A massive day for Zach.
Yeah, 11 lengths off the leader at the 600 was massive, Sovereign. So, yeah, look, Zach Shane had highlighted that he hadn't had the rub of the green so much in the Derby itself. He's been long associated with Dennis. It was sort of a late association with this horse as well, but it all worked out well for Zach, who's been a champion jockey for a number of years, and you could see it meant a lot to him.
Yeah, it was a great ride. There was quite a few very good rides, like Blake Sheen, and Yui's ride on the favourite was outstanding also. But Zach's riding very well at present, and he's switching. He's not going around them. He's not covering ground, and he's starting to cut the corner. And that's what won the race. When they go at the 1,000 like that and they up the tempo at the half mile, that was when the pace really quickened from the half mile to the 600. And if you're working around them, it is impossible to make an 800 metre run and pick the leader up who's dashed clear. But if you're back in the field and just wait on the fence and let your horse come into it, you can then run them down. And that's what Zach did. It was an outstanding ride. I mentioned that horse. I want to give a mention to Andy Lowe, who brought the horse. There's a lot of bloodstock agents out there. I saw that horse and I sent you the video before he had his first run, Clint. Mm-hmm. He looked a superstar, and I said to you after the classic 1,800 metre race, this horse in 2 races will win today and win the Derby. He found him, and do you realise it's the first horse he's brought for Hong Kong, apparently? So the story I read, which is quite incredible, because when I looked at him once, the morning of the races, his European runs, I said, this horse will just win the Derby. He's a superstar. It's $9. So congratulations to Andy Lowe.
And just Shane, back to the ride a little bit as well. I mean, we were seeing on the day that the inside was really a good spot and probably on pace. It's the second time in, with the A course, with the rail and the true, that there has been a little bit of a pattern. And, it was a bold ride from that, I think, on all of, pretty much the first 3. Less so with Ka Ying, who jumped better. But Zach's mindset there, he'd be thinking, well, what am I going to do here? My horse gets back. I've got to get to the inside. And I presume that's what they would have been thinking. And Blake Shin probably happy to follow Helios and him.
Well, pace in the race actually helped those horses because it stops them from pulling. And it didn't help Helios Express because he couldn't run the distance. Now, if we have a look, they go straight back, and that's the only option they've got. Zach can't go forward on this horse. Once you've watched his overseas races, you realise that this horse goes better than far back. The quieter you ride this horse, the better he is. He pulls a little bit then. The other horse goes to the front. Ryan's in no man's land because he went forward and there's no pace in the race, you think. And he thought he'd get outside the leader and he couldn't get there. Helene Feeling went forward. He's still 3 wide. They couldn't get in. And the leader just strung them out, which actually helped the back markers.
Yeah, I know, very much so. And and Sid was definitely a forgive run. Elaine Feeling didn't have much luck, but I thought Andre did a good job. Once he got Carrying Generation out, about halfway down the back, he doesn't go too early. You see the sectionals 25.5, the next one's a 23.9, which is about where you need to be. And I suppose the concern for those back in the field is that they just need an out, and they haven't really got one because Andrea starts to pick it up from here, Shane.
Yeah, but if they've got an out, they can't win, Clint.
Right.
They do not win if they've got to go round them, right? So This is the best thing. You've got to ride for luck and gamble, and that's what Zach did. But he would have known what the horse he had underneath him, like last start when he picked up at the 600. Geez, he looked good. You know, the start before his first run in Hong Kong. He's gone. He's run a 22.94 here from the 800 to the 400. And that's perfect on a track like this, which is favouring on pace. It's just unfortunate that these two back markers got the perfect run and didn't get held up. If they get held up once, they can't run him down, Clint. He's gone. He's won the race.
Hey, special mention to Galaxy Patch. Pierre Rung's trained second and third. So he's a young trainer, just his second season. Galaxy Patch, actually, JT spends lives in South Australia, so he'll know where this horse originated from. We'll touch on that in a moment. But what a run from Galaxy Patch. I mean, his effort was enormous in defeat. He's gone 1,014. They've tried the 2,000. Shane, he's an unbelievable horse. This guy's the next star. We've both been saying it on this show pretty much all season, but now it's even more exciting for them.
Oh, 100%. We knew that going into the race, but the thing you had to ask yourself, was he going to pull? And Blake's very good at getting a horse to relax. And with the pace on, it made it easy for him to relax, Clint. And he's outstanding. Now, they can run him from 14s, 12s to 2,000. It's not going to matter now. You just avoid the really superstar horse that's around at the time. I know Golden 60's on his way out. So he might be the horse that takes over in that grade of around mile to 2,000, but he's outstanding. There's no risk. But have a look at Unbelievable, the horse running on there. Wait till he runs fifth. Wait till he gets over 2,400. This could be a really great derby, Clint, whereas when we went into it, we weren't too sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot to take out of it, JT. And I mentioned, of course, Galaxy Patch. I think Will Clarkin had him back in
Galinga Spirit, his name was. He won a maiden at Morphettville. To be honest, the form out of that maiden's been pretty modest, but he's just gone to a new level in Hong Kong. I know there's plenty that follow him pretty closely from South Australia.
Yeah, definitely. So it's exciting for Hong Kong going forward anyway.
We'll dive in and have a greater look at the Derby a little bit later and talk about some of those beaten rides, some outstanding beaten rides away from Zach Purton. But it was elation for the champion jockey. And well, as a long-time viewer and first-time host, one of the highlights of watching the Triple Trio is Nicole Purton's involvement. And
yes.
She was on last week, plenty of great insight, but she was pretty tight-lipped about Zach's Derby chances. She was more interested in having a chat about her outfit, as we saw last week.
So I've actually got a white dress covered in diamonds. So let's hope it's sunny and I'm out there sparkling on the day.
That is the dress of a winning Hong Kong jockey's wife, isn't it?
Going to be a great...
That's not the dress you wear if you think you're going to come 19th.
Yeah, and they absolutely nailed it. Shane, Zach in the limelight, as was Nicole in her dress.
It was beautiful, had diamonds, whether they were real or fake, showing a nice bit of leg there too. And she's got great legs, Nicole, which is good to see, and looks a little bit tanned. Dress looks nice, fits in. Who's watching Zach? No one really cares in those photos about Zach. It's all about Nicole. She stole the show. She was very joyous and happy, and it was great to see.
You know what was interesting as well, JT, about all of that? Last year, she was very confident with Beauty Eternal, who started favourite. Yeah. And this year she came on the show and said, I'm not going the early crow. She didn't even put it in the top four. So she's gone to the other extreme.
It's worked.
So there you have it.
Speaking of post-race celebrations, they were celebrating right across the world, including Hutchi at the VIP party for the Hutchi's Honkers followers. Some incredible scenes.
Yeah, there was some interesting vision that's coming up after the derby. Apparently, they were shouting him home. I thought Zach was going to get up here, and in our celebrations, didn't really time my high five that well.
Not sure about that connection.
No, completely missed Richo and got him banged straight on the melon. So let's probably get on that one.
Is that why he's not here? Is he had some issues with his eyes? Is that the real reason that I've stepped in today?
It was a great afternoon. We had a lot of fun and
Clint,
really enjoyed it.
One quick thing. You had a drink in your hand. You're celebrating. Had you had a little bit too much to drink at that stage?
No, maybe one or two, Shane. There's a possibility.
You look
hydrated,
very joyous there. It must have been a good day.
It was a great day.
Yeah, they were well hydrated, the Hutchi's Honkers VIP crew, that's for sure. Speaking about great performances, Francis Liu with another training treble.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. A lot of the leading stables are. This was a good win pattern. As it turns out, looking back, I suppose, was favoured a little bit by where you needed to be, but I thought Geneva'd win this race, 3-wide trail. I think he loomed and peaked. And Shane, the winner, Divana, this is a good win. It was good on the clock. Yeah. He jumped. He's looked very professional. G. Francis can find a nice horse.
Yeah, he's going really well. I couldn't find the winner. I normally do on overseas trials, those first starters, but he didn't have an overseas trial. And his trial 2 starts ago at China was terrible. He sat up there and he stopped and he was pushed out. Then they went to 1,000. He won the 1,000. It was quite a strong trial and he did look good, but I couldn't have him because of what I saw the trial 2 starts ago. So he was $21. The pros couldn't find him. He wasn't easy to find, but he led and he looked good, looked very good.
Speaking of looking good, Shane, how well is Harry Bentley going at the moment? Another treble at Happy Valley last week.
Yeah, he rode really well. I think I gave him some points in the end for that. They all drew barrier 1, but he gave them perfect rides, which was good to see. This was Show Respect, one of Mark Newman's, who's going very well and gave it the perfect run. And gates just matter so much there if you didn't realise, James. Like, third fence from gate 1's just perfect and he was too good.
Yeah, he's riding well, Harry. Like, I think he got a couple of points deducted recently. It spurred him on to riding a treble during the week from the Idol, of course, I mentioned. But
nothing like a rev up for a bit of motivation.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that sort of halftime speech from Shane. But in all seriousness, I think Harry is riding very well. Yes, she's got the luxury of a good barrier, but you still got to execute well. And in Hong Kong, there's not much that needs to go wrong for you. And I honestly think he's riding clearly the best he has in Hong Kong since he's been there. And I think he'll have a lot of winners if he can continue in that sort of form.
Plenty of feature racing right across the globe last weekend. Obviously, we had Group 1 racing in Australia, Group 1 racing in Hong Kong. Did you manage to catch the action from Japan with Victor, the winner?
Yes, we did.
Third in the Group 1?
We did. I think, Shane, we're all proud of him. Look, he came off the fence, Derek, probably to find the better ground, but ironically, the first 2 parts stayed where they were on the chopped up ground and were too good. And we know Mad Cool from Hong Kong as well has travelled over to the HKIR.
I thought it was a huge run. If he stays on the fence, he doesn't win, Clint. The other horse just quickens past him. I don't know how the track was riding that day because I hadn't watched the previous races, but obviously it had to be worse. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come off the fence. But that didn't cost him the win. He gave him a good ride, and I thought it was a big run, and he boxed on, and he showed a lot of heart. There was nothing wrong with that run, Clint.
No, it wasn't. I thought he ran really well. I mean, our sprinter's gone there. I think he was given a nice ride and he had his opportunity, but he was third best there. You go to anywhere and tackle them on their home ground.
It's tough.
It's tough to win. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, the son of Toronado flying the flag for Hong Kong. His owner made the trip across as well. This caught our eye on social media. Now, I'm not sure if he's had a collect on Victor the winner or if he's had a big fill following Hutchi's Honkers. But in any case, he's had a good day. Very good day. Yeah, lots of yen there. Shane, have you spent any time in Japan? Have you been to the races there? Have you managed to ride there? I don't think I've ever asked you that. Yeah, I rode there. I was actually one of the first to get offered a contract there, but I knocked it back. That was back in 94, 95. And the French jockey, what's his name? He was there riding all the time. It just eludes me. I forgot. Oscar Pallier. Yeah. He was there riding and he got a contract and he went and they rung me in Australia to see. But it was over September, October, November, the 3 months. And we had our big races. So I didn't go and I never got to ride there. But, of course, I rode in World Jockey Series and I rode in a couple of Japan Cups. It's actually pretty easy riding there because they go very fast and they ride quite loose. So it's not hard. Yeah, we've seen Aussie jockeys like Damien Lane go over there and do very much really well. Good news during the week as well, and that is that Vincent Ho is nearing a return. One of our favourites. Some time on the sidelines, but not too far away from getting back into the action.
Yeah, Hong Kong's favourite son at the moment, Vincent. And he has had not the best of 12 months with a couple of serious falls. He's done all the rehab, Shane. He's taken his time, sensible young lad, and a really talented rider. I mean, I think it's fair in saying he's the best Hong Kong talent since Tony Cruz. Would that be fair?
Oh, 100% it is.
Yeah.
I think he is. He's outstanding, He's done a marvellous job with Golden 60, but forget that. The way he conducts himself is a credit to Hong Kong, the school, who brought him up and everything, because I think even Casper had a bit to do with him as a kid, as an apprentice. So everyone should get credit because he's a great ambassador for Hong Kong. He really is, Clint.
Yeah. He learned to put up with a good spray being, under Casper as his master.
Sometimes it
can toughen him up.
Yeah, it can hold you in good stead. Teach you to deal with some resilience. Hey, let's check the latest in the jockey and trainer standings off the back of a big weekend. And Hutch, we've got a couple of dominant leaders still. Yeah, we do. I mean, Zach. With of course Hugh out for a long time, and then we had Vincent out for a long time. Vincent was threatening, I think, this season. The Trainers' Championship's right up for grabs, more so than it has been. I still think Pierre's going to be tough to beat, but look, Francis is right there, John Sires, and they've all got nice young horses coming through. So that front quartet, including Ricky Hughes, starting to just edge away from the pack. All right, and now we round out our review of the Hong Kong Derby. I know you were both very positive and bullish about the chances of the winner, but tuning in last week, was there a little bit of a side wager with a couple of other horses?
A little bit of a side wager. Chilby, Shane, and of course your selection, Star Mac, and we should probably relive this. We'll have a lunch or a dinner. I'll have Chilby versus your Star Mac in the market. Are we on?
Yeah, good as gold. That doesn't worry me.
I know the place to go.
There's a place in Brisbane apparently we've got to go up to.
No,
yes, very good.
Lobster mango salad.
I think they, Shane, as we take the replay, and we got that vision on a more serious note of Chilby, which was fantastic, but you must have been a bit disappointed in Star Mac.
He failed. He didn't run it out. He was ridden closer, but at 1,800 when the pace quickened, he was taken out of his comfort zone. He just failed. Simple as that.
Is it, so we're doing the Lobster when we go back to Hong Kong later in the year, or is that
you can do the Lobster, or you can come up here, whatever you want, Clint. It doesn't bother me because I'll be paying and I'll be eating it, so what's the difference? Just add another one, put you in there, and I seem to always pay anyway.
He's a good sport, and he's not wrong very often, so I've got to make the most of it.
And I think Richo was under the impression that he was going to be tagging along because he was there when the bet's placed. But it's all about who's there when the bet's settled. So I think I might be tagging along.
Yeah, you can be there.
One.
Yeah, well, why not? Why not? We'll leave Richo at home.
All I know is I thought he would go better, but I found the winner when he was rated 72, telling you he would win the Derby before he had a run, 2 races before he had his first run.
Yeah, well done. You did. We're very confident in the winner. Well done.
Yeah, thrilling 2024 Hong Kong Derby, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it for many, many years to come. Time to move on to Sweet in defeat.
They're off, and Sugar missed the start by 4 lengths. Then Dublin Star, Sugar fast buck, smart leader. Oversubscribed, lunges at the post, missed. Sugar, that's a sweet win for Alfie Chan.
One of our favourite parts of the show each and every week on the Triple Trio. Hutch, has anyone jumped into the Sweet and Defeat file this week?
Yeah, we've got to try and find some future winners, JT, and I think there's a couple here that are well worth following. Winning Gold on a day where it wasn't easy to be back and wide. He's closed off really nicely. Was a play for us on the weekend. I wasn't disappointed in the run. I think in retrospect it was probably one of the better runs on the day. Atomic Beauty drew awkwardly during the week. Brenton Avdullah got on board, just couldn't find a spot, and unfortunately covered a lot of ground, beaten less than a length. And Zoom Boom was another one that was sort of a little bit on the radar, and I think is very, very close to a win. But Shane, this was Winning Gold. It was just a day where it was sort of difficult to be back and wide and close off. This was obviously earlier in the day, and most of the principals were up and right down near that rail. But Winning Gold put the light on there that it won't be too far away or too long away before he'll be winning one.
Yeah, his last 2 runs have been good. He's got back and run on. He probably wants a mile, Clint, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Once he gets to a mile, he might be better suited.
And it's just hard to know whether or not, even if he drew well, he could take a spot. He seems like a horse that doesn't have a lot of early speed, so I wouldn't want it to change too much around, but hopefully he can have a little bit better luck next time around, and a more favourable draw would be good.
Putting those ones in the black book. Hutch, time for you to take a back seat, because one of our favourite segments is Genius or Slaughter. RS Dyer is going to take the driver's seat.
The end across, answering the urgings of Shane Dyer. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it. Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Shane, our genius for this week. Who's caught your eye?
Well, Zach's riding really well. He's back in a big way, and there's a reason why. If we watch him here on Flying Ace, you can see him here midfield, one off the fence. He comes in. Now, this is the biggest thing he's doing on horses all of a sudden the last couple of weeks. He's normally out 3 deep there and happy to go round them, but he come back in. Now, if he comes out there, there's no way he wins the race. He cuts the corner. And he just quickens to win the race, and it was a very, very good ride. Now, if you watch the outside horse, if Flying Ace had come out 3 deep at 600-700, come round them, he couldn't win. It was impossible. The other horse would have got over top of him, Clint.
Yeah, he would have.
That's a big thing Zach's doing different at present. He's starting to cut the corner, and he's not coming out at 700, and it's just adding something to his bow, and he's not as aggressive out of the gates that he was a month, 2-3 months ago. He's starting to just ride every horse as they should be, and he's going well. He's flying at present.
Yeah, back to the inside. I mean, the other good thing with Zach, and if he identifies that pattern where the inside was clearly better, he'll ride to it, and he's probably better than most of them at picking up on those patterns early in the day. How the track's playing. So it's an advantage. It's part of the arsenal that he's got. But like Shane said, probably in some instances he'd be happy to track 3 deep and present them. But if he sees a pattern like that, he rode to it. It was a great ride.
I found it interesting on Sunday after he won the Derby, almost frustrated with the season that he's had, despite the fact that he's still head and shoulders above the rest of the pack, which just goes to show the lofty benchmark that he's got for himself.
He's coming off a record-breaking season. He's ridden 170 winners last year, and I think if you look at how many favourites he's ridden this year, he should be probably riding 110, 120 winners. I mean, if you're going on market expectations. So there's no doubt he took a while to get going early in the season. So I can understand him disappointed, but like you said, he sets a pretty high benchmark.
Shane, moving on to the Slaughter. Have you got anyone in the gun this week?
No, but I found this interesting watching it. This is Yui on Loyal Bobo. He jumps. Now, all he had to do was just let it run here, and it crosses to the fence, right? And he would have got across, but all of a sudden the kid kicks up, and he's there. So Yui now thinks he can come across, but now Zach kicks up, and all of a sudden Yui's in no man's land. And I'm saying, if only he had given a dig out of the gates. Now he's got to go forward because Zach's making him work. And now he comes back. This is a really good win, this, Clint. Like, he could have got across, but then if he had got across and led, would the kid have taken him on? And that's the worst thing that can happen to him, So it's a catch-22. You want to go forward, you want to lead, you don't want to waste too much petrol. But he could have got across there real easy early if he had just let it run a little bit. Yeah. This is a nice horse, Clint, and he'll run a mile the way he won this.
Well, to go 21-2 and a 13-4, Zach has made him work there. He's on the short price favourite, and he's let Hugh sort of have to spend some petrol. So, yeah, I think the points that you make are very valid, Shane. Yes, the pat was onside, but pattern becomes less important when pace is in the game as much as it was in this race. So he looked a bit empty late to an extent, but he was entitled to be. And I'm with you, Shane. He's valued for a lot more than the margin, let's put it that way.
Well, if he had led and the other horse doesn't take him on, he wins by 3, that horse, maybe 4. He definitely wins by 3, if he had that soft lead. He's a nice horse. Zach might be right about him because remember Zach said originally he could be Class 1 and he looked very disappointing. But now he's running over that bit further. He seemed to come into his own and is appreciating the 1400.
Definitely, and maybe one to stick with.
That brings us to one of the most coveted prizes in world racing. Now, I'm a novice. I thought the Scobie Breesley medal, the John Letts medal, Metropolitan Premierships were what the jockeys were chasing, but I'm quickly learning that what they're after is the Idol.
Well, this week, Zach had many good rides. The Derby was a great ride. Also, of course, Flying Ace, but there was Snow a Lot. Snow a Lot drew wide, went back to last, saved ground, come along, and he's a non-winner, right? And it was only because of the ride. So I've given him 5 points because there were so many good rides. Arseni gets 2 for the Derby because that showed initiative and he did something different, and I'm never, ever going to knock something like that. And I thought it was just perfect. Unfortunately, it got beat. I actually wished he would have won through doing it, even though I didn't back it, because I love that in a jockey. Bentley rode a treble. I knew they all drew gate 1, but he gave him perfect rides. So I've given him his 2 points back, which I took off a week ago. Yes. So he can have them. He'll be happy. Now, Can't Go Wrong was just a perfect ride. Gate 5, ended up 3 back the fence, come out at the 600 at the right stage and won. Hewitson had a Derby first 2 races, went straight to the front from a wide barrier on that first win, and Teton rode 3 winners and gave them good rides. And if you can win on the best peach, you deserve a point because he hardly ever wins, but he always places.
Yeah. We'll flash up the overall leaderboard for the Idol. Hey, Shane, I just want to go back. Andrea Arzini definitely deserving of some points for that game placing in the Derby. Could he have done anything differently if he'd waited 50 metres, if he'd gone earlier? Does it change the result, or has he got the absolute best out of his horse?
Okay, so that's a good question, and that's a question I can't answer, okay? Someone rang me after the race and said I should have waited an extra 50 metres, he might have won. I'm not saying yes or no, but I do know this. You can never be 100% right when you go, but he went around the right time. The thing is, if he had waited another 200 metres, he would not have won because those horses would have been a lot closer to him. And he's just a dead set stayer. If you go back and look at all of his times, he can't quicken that horse at the finish of a race. He just keeps going the same pace, runs a 24 or 23 and a half. Those other horses, they can run 21.8s, 22s. So I'm not saying he would have won, but I thought it was a perfect ride. I thought it was a very good ride.
So there it is, the Idol getting towards the business end of the most coveted prize in Hong Kong racing. Now we get to be joined by our special guest this week. It's JD Hayes. The star power this week joins us live from his Euroa training base. It's young gun trainer but star trainer in JD Hayes, who's got a massive weekend coming up. JD, thanks for jumping on and having a chat, mate. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but we had a busy morning at the farm this morning.
Season's going well though, and we'll talk about the weekend a little bit more, JD, but we want to sort of bring in your Hong Kong connection. Of course, Dad's training up there. He's going pretty well too.
He is. He's certainly in a nice little bit of form there with a double on Wednesday, and we can certainly hear it in his voice. There's nothing a winner can't change when you're a trainer. So, no, we're very happy here in the Hayes household. Things are going well in Australia and Hong Kong.
Yeah, 8 winners in March. And Shane, we were just chatting a little bit off air a moment ago there, and apparently back in the day, the young lads were just growing up when you were in Hong Kong, and you used to babysit on occasions.
Oh, well, I was always at their place because they were just living underneath me in the building, of course. And I used to go to David's to watch Sky Channel, watch the Aussie races. We used to have barbecues, but I think JD and Will were about 5 when I arrived. They were tiny, and I more or less grew up with them, didn't I, JD?
No, absolutely. Good, fond memories of growing up in Hong Kong. And I remember Shane rode a winner on a horse called Car Win. And what we used to do, we used to have whips and pretend to punch him out on the couch. And using Shane Dye's style, he copped a flogging. So he got everything out of the couch. And he also had a dog that had its tongue on the side. It had a stroke, but Tiger was a great little dog.
Yeah, he was cute. You know, I gave him to Nicole and Zach Purden when I left, and they looked after him, and then they just absolutely loved him. He was such a nice dog. Everyone loved Tiger, didn't they?
Tiger was a real crowd pleaser, and they say dogs are like their owners, so I think that's the case there too.
Thanks.
Just and JD, and just back to how things are going this season. Of course, the three boys. You got Ben and of course Will there as well, and things. I think the three of you this season as a combined official partnership just started this season, so it's been an amazing ride on the back of some tremendous success through Brightside.
No, it's been really, really good, and where we're so lucky, us three boys, and also the sister who's heavily involved in the business, Sophie, is we've got such good people around us and a world-class facility. So we've definitely been given every opportunity to do so, and if we don't have the answer, you don't have to look too far to get it. Dad's only a phone call away, but we've got people like Gary Fennessy, who's been working for the family for about 55 years. So that's you get longer for murder. So he's done a fair stint and lots of experience around us, and it doesn't stop there, just a lot of good people around us.
Just on another sort of connected note anyway, I mean, we've seen more horses coming back from Hong Kong. I know you have a lot on your property that your dad gets up there that are unraced, and he's had a lot of success this season with some of his unraced horses. But we are seeing a trend a little bit back the other way, aren't we, with a lot of horses coming back from Hong Kong that aren't suited for whatever reason. In fact, you had a winner recently during the week on one, but can you tell us a little bit about that and the opportunities that that's also providing?
No, it's lovely how it works back the other way, like you touched on. King's Capital obviously winning during the week, Master Montaro, Anila came back and he's won 5 races, and it's a really nice little change of environment for him, and it can breathe some life into the old legs of theirs, and we get to train on hills here, water walkers, and just a change of environment out in the country atmosphere, I think really reinvigorates a few of them.
King's Capital, of course, JT was owned, I should say, by Jean Choi, who owned Elegant Fashion and had a long association with the boys over a number of years. I think we've got to get into the Brightside chat now, JT, don't we? How's he going to go on the weekend? A big race, big sort of renewal of the rivalry with Pride of Jenny in the Australian Cup, the time-honoured Australian Cup. How are we looking?
No, we can't fault him. He's really gone from strength to strength. I think he's going to appreciate the 2,000 metres. I don't think it's just a race in two either. I think there's a fair bit of depth with Cascadian, who was chasing us there. As you can see, the line in the All-Star Mile, and also a Tissue is a high-class mare on a day. So it's going to be a great race for racing fans, and hopefully we're not too far off the Pride of Jenny, because she's quite hard to run down.
That she is. And from that perspective, you must be happier with your barrier draw. I don't think Craig did anything wrong last start. It was just sort of more how the cards fell for him and where he ended up. But, you know, this gives him an opportunity probably just to land a little bit closer, or where he wants to in the run. It sort of takes a few things out of the equation for him.
100%. And last start, now with a few days under our belt and going into the next run, he was ridden in a fashion where he's spot on for this race. And now that we've got the barrier one, like you touched on, if he begins well from the gate, he should just be in the perfect spot. So hopefully it looks like that on paper, and hopefully it equates like that after the first 400 metres in the Australian Cup.
Now, I know it's early days, and we're not going to talk about this particular race necessarily anything else, but that Cox Plate last year between Brightside, when none of us could tell who won, of course, because of the shadow, but what a gallant run this, and Romantic Warrior. Are we going to see another clash between these two at any time soon? Because this was something special.
This was an incredible race. We did book the whole family into Specsavers after mine. But look, Romantic Warrior, for him to go on and do what he's done in Hong Kong, he's a quality animal, and there is a chance that we could be going to Hong Kong after the Queen Elizabeth, but the horse has to be 110%, Mr Brightside, because the race that we've got the big circle around was that one that we just shown the replay of, and we need to find an inch. So we'll be trying. The main goal is a Cox Plate, but there is a possibility to go to Hong Kong and have a rematch.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, Shane, because that was a special race this year, or in this season, wasn't it?
I like the video after the race when they're all celebrating. I'm sure everyone's seen it. I'm sure we can find it and put it up here. Were you involved in that, JD, the celebration videotape?
Yeah, I think I was having a big bear hug with Dad, and then it said Romantic Warriors won the Cox Plate, and I nearly fainted.
The faces all changed.
We had a great day that day. We had a double and beaten the bees, in the Cox Plate, but still went home and kicked the dog and had a bottle of red before Dad flew home.
Mate, he had his chance.
On the Grand Slams.
When you're unlucky, but when you get your chance, the other horse just outfought him, even though you looked at one. Boys, I just want to mention a horse here that both of you haven't mentioned, Legato. Like, she won the Australian Guineas last year. Why can't she win? Or is she not? I thought she was going all right in New Zealand. Or not, Clint?
Yeah, well, she's been beaten as a short price favourite a couple of times, Shane.
Okay.
So hasn't quite lived up to that. No, but she's a talent. We've seen her win well at Flemington.
Is there a slight knock on her at 2,000 metres?
I reckon a mile.
Okay.
For me, I think she's more of a mile, and a brutally run 2,000 I think will see her out. But you got another Kiwi that runs on the weekend, Shane. It's got a lot better chance in Orchestral, the 3-year-old, as you heard. That looks a great chance for J-Mac. It's probably going to be one of the more exciting runners to go around in Australia.
She's a superstar from what I've seen, and you know what I'm like when they say they're superstars, they normally are. She's the real deal. I'll be very, very surprised if she's not very impressive tomorrow.
Yeah, no, she's one of those ones we're really looking forward to. So what are the confidence levels like, JD, leading into the big one? I mean, you're looking forward to the race. I mean, I can't wait for the race just for the re-clash, and like the boys have said, it's not just two, but looking forward to it with anticipation and some confidence, or a little bit of trepidation?
Yeah, I'll be staring at the wall, waiting for the alarm to go off to go on in the morning. I don't sleep very well the night before, but that's because I'm so excited. Win, lose or draw, this horse owes us nothing. He's an absolute star, and what he's done for Ben, Will and I to put us back on the map, I can't thank this horse enough. So he's never let us down. We are a little bit biased in our opinion of him because he is... he's just so honest. So I'm sure he'll put up his run. And if you're a Mr Brightside fan, I think he's ready to run a PB.
Mate, you're not being biased. He's a Kiwi. They have big hearts.
I specifically didn't mention Legato because I knew you would.
Tell me, are you buying any more of those Kiwis? Are you looking at them to come over? Have you got another one in your stable you can recommend us on the show that you think has ability?
We're always looking, and the Kiwis, they're quite smart. They're getting harder and harder to buy off. The price just seems to be going north, but that's because we're getting so many good results. And there is a horse called Reinberg there. He's not really the one coming through because he won 4 last preparation, but I thought he was very good first up, and we've got a wide alley to negotiate, but I think he's still got a few rating points in hand.
There you go.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. JD, mate, thank you so much for your time on the Triple Trio. I know you and Will have little ones on the way, so if you're looking for a babysitter, Shane Dye's for you a little bit later this year.
Mate, I love kids. I'll babysit any day. I'd rather spend my time with kids than adults. Kids don't lie.
There you go, JD. We've got it sorted for you, mate. Hey, we'll let you go. Good luck on the weekend.
Thank you for having me.
JD Hayes there, 1/3 of the Lindsay Park team going great guns, and they have Mr Brightside a leading chance in the Group 1 Australian Cup, one of our World Pool races.
Yes.
Hutchi, is he on top for you? Have you got one of the other ones?
I think that there's a very good chance Protogenic can win again. He's got to get the first third of the race right, but if he rates her and doesn't overdo it, I mean, she's been putting them all on the hurt locker very early over a mile. He can't go that hard that quickly here, and I don't see any other leaders in the race. So he'll go forward. If he get a soft first 400 or 500 and then ramp it from 1,000 or 1,100 out, I think she'll win again. I think she's got a great chance.
Massive weekend of World Pool races coming up right across Australia and further abroad. Of course, the Australian Cup, one of 2 races, World Pool races at Flemington on Saturday. The 3-year-olds doing battle in the Sunlight Classic is the other. Group 1 racing in Sydney, the Tancred, the weight for age contest over the 2,400 metres, the headline there, and the Doncaster Prelude Big Field doing battle there at Group 3 level. And then Hutchi, a huge Saturday night in Dubai, World Cup night, and you look at the quality of the races there, some of the best from right across the country.
It is.
The world.
It's one of the best days of racing in the world. So I mean, it's so fortunate for
all horse players into the world pool. You can bet into these pools and get some real liquidity and get involved. And Hong Kong representation, of course, we've got Voyage Bubble going over. We've got California Spangle, of course, in the Alquoz site. Success also runs, and Straight Aaron. I think Casper Found's pretty happy with the way Straight Aaron's gone. But Voyage Bubble drew a nice Baron. How he goes at the Dubai Turf, a race where Hong Kong's actually done quite well over the years, and certainly the Alquoz is a race that the Australians know well, and to an extent, Hong Kong horses have also performed nicely. So. We're going to be up late on Saturday.
Well, I want to get your thoughts on the Tancred first and foremost in Sydney. Going head-to-head with the Australian Cup, so previous years one would be a lead into the other. It is an international, though, that's caught your eye.
This is owned by Shane's very good friend, Lloyd Williams, who Shane did a lot of riding for, and a really exciting performance last week. So he's on the backup, Shane. I'm sure you would have seen it, because Lloyd, you would have been on the phone to Lloyd and probably had a chat about this horse. But, gee, it was a good win.
Yeah, they didn't really know what to expect from him first up because he hadn't had a run for so long. And it's just hard to know. They knew he had the ability, but will he bring it to the table? And he did. He was very impressive. Now, can he back up? That's debatable. If he does, you would think he would, and repeats that, you would think he could win the race because it doesn't look a strong Tancred Stakes. There's not much in it, Clint.
No, there isn't. I mean, that race there was good speed. He stayed on strongly. The main danger probably comes from Buckaroo, who comes out of a slowly run race, once again dominated by internationals. First and second past the post were, of course, Yulong owned, and really nice win from a potential star in Via Sistina. But Buckaroo looks potentially well placed in the race, but probably has that weight for age form. But yeah, I think, and there's others that are sort of better qualified than me to discuss this, but it doesn't look like an overly strong race, like you said, Shane, in terms of what's gone in years before. It's very winnable compared to other years.
Tom Kitten's not the worst. I know he was disappointing the other day. He was on the worst part of the track, but he was still disappointing. He's a nice 3-year-old, and if you forget that run, you would have him probably favourite in this race, just about. And he's going ahead to the Derby, and everyone thinks he'll run 2400 on his win in the Spring Championship Stakes last season. But he could improve a lot.
One thing that we have noticed, and I've noticed it for some time though, Shane, once again, I think it's showing probably a lack of depth in the Australian staying ranks. It's good to see Orchestral come over from NZ, but gee whiz, there's not much. I mean, no wonder that for the English and the Irish are coming over thinking, well, why wouldn't you have a throw at the stunts with this prize money? I mean, they come in and win easily.
Mate, I've been saying it for a long time and people think I'm negative, but I'm not. I'm just stating facts. The Australian breeding section for staying horses, well, not staying horses, weight for age horses is just gone. There's nothing. Yeah. When I was riding in the 90s, you could name 5 to 10 star horses and Cox plates. Now, you're lucky to get one. What have we got in Australia that's actually a real weight for age horse? Mr Brightside is from New Zealand. Then what have you got?
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
No, I think it's a really good point you make. I mean, up to a mile we're okay, but if you get to that 2,000 metre, they're just lacking, JT.
Yeah, and ultimately, our breeding industry is probably not geared around breeding those sorts of horses. Hence why we import them.
Well, I don't know. If you look at the breeding industry, we had from the time I was little, Sir Tristram was a superstar. He was in New Zealand, right? Then you went and you kind of had after him, you had Danehill. Where did Danehill come from? Yeah, so Tristram was European. Danehill was European. He won in Europe before he come here. The superstar stallions that kind of created the scene, and of course you know how many Group 1 winners Danehill left. He was probably one of the greatest sires of all time. Well, he raced in Europe. Now these horses, the stallions that are in Australia, they're just not leaving those superstar weight for age horses. They're just not.
Interesting times ahead.
All I know is that Shane won both the Australian Cup and the Tancred on octagonal, and there's probably no octagonals going around in the Tancred on Saturday.
Maybe you can come to the lunch after. Like little throws like that are going to get you to the lunch, you know.
Yeah, just little fanboy moments like that. Yeah. Happy to heap some praise on the great man.
The Australian Cup, just thinking of it, right? I was following Juggler. I had Doremus outside me. Now, there's just two horses I know when you said the Australian Cup, and there would have been more in it. And that's what I'm saying. There was a wide range of great horses where they're just not there. And I think in Sydney where they're making the mistake is they've gone after this Queen Elizabeth and made it such a huge race. The race of the autumn is the Golden Slipper. It's the only race in Sydney. It's the one. It's so high up around the world. It's not the Queen Elizabeth, and all the eggs should go into that Golden Slipper all year.
Interesting call there.
And yeah, it was a really good addition of the Golden Slipper last week with Lady of Camelot getting the cash. Just quickly, we touched upon those Dubai races, Hong Kong representation in two of them, the Al Quoz and the Dubai Turf. Do we have any sort of insight from the respective camps here? Do we think that any of these Hong Kong horses can go and be in the mix?
I think Voyage Bubble is up to the standard. Shane, it's a really hard place, I find, for Hong Kong horses not only to go and perform well at, more so to come back from and then hold that level of form. It seems to be a taxing trip for them. It's not easy. And I know one thing, you need to generally draw well, favourably, which is different to the straight to once you get around a bend. And I think the fact that Voyage Bubble has drawn, and when I say well, inside barriers, I think it's a big plus.
You know the form better than I do because I don't do that international form. I will say this, for the Hong Kong horses going there, it's a little bit hotter this time of year. We're coming into summer in Hong Kong and it hasn't reached its peak, whereas when you go to Dubai, it's really hot and they have to contend with that. I suppose you can look at the flip side. The European horses, which are in the cold, have to go there also, and it's colder in Europe than it is in Dubai. So they have to cope also, Clint.
Yeah, they do. Just quickly, your thoughts, California Spangled 1200. It's interesting from Tony. He's happy to bring him back to sprinting. The straight won't be a problem. He's won down the straight in Hong Kong. I think his optimum trip's 1400 personally, but what's your thoughts with him over 1200?
Well, when you're in a straight, it's always a bit longer because it's harder. So that might suit him. Naturally, I feel as though he wants 1400, but the straight could help him. The other thing is that is always the weak race, the 1200 metres. Once you start stepping up, you're getting those great weight for age horses from Europe coming to the 1800 to the 2000 or the 2400 metre grass. So it's hard to win. But if you're going to win a race, it's normally the 1200.
Yeah, and of course the Japanese have dominated in Dubai in recent years with their entrance, and I can't wait to see them, go head to head with some of those good Europeans because they've certainly had their measure recently.
Well, Juice, who I think was the last horse to beat Equinox back in his 3-year-old season, lines up in the 1800 metres, the Dubai Turf, and he won the Arena. McKinnon the back end of last year, so he brings pretty irresistible form lines.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that form line.
Now it's time for the great man Hutch to back up his outstanding tipping performance from last week. We turn our attention to Sha Tin racing on Sunday. Hutch, you got a bit of a pep in your step. You're bullish about the card?
I'm bullish about the card, and I'm thankful that we've got a couple of very nice horses going around. And one of them is, of course, early in the day. And I think in the third event, we've got a really interesting runner, Meydan, who looks yet another exciting prospect. Of course, for Pierre Rung, he's going to be a short price favourite. I've got him marked around that $1.50 mark and got him on top. Of course, I think Flaming Rabbit and Superb Boy look the dangers. But Shane, interesting as well with the Hugh Bowman's picked up the ride. He was beaten by Red Lion here. You highlighted this ride with Karis. They drew well clear of the rest. But Meydan, back to the horse, he looks a really exciting prospect.
He's one of my favourite horses in Hong Kong. I love this horse. He can really quicken like a very, very good horse. Yui will have him back. He'll be relaxed. And when he joins in, I think they're going to go along with All for St. Paul's and, of course, Flying Rabbit, which will only help him, get off the bridle back and he'll run over top of them, Clint.
Small field. Huey's drawn where he is. He'll be patient, JT, and I've got him marked $1.50. I could probably have him even shorter, but the interest for a lot might be with the Quinella. Maybe it'll be Flaming Rabbit who'll go forward. Maybe it'll be Superb Boy who's got the measure of a couple others. But, yeah, I think this is just another race for Meydan on the way to probably competing against some of the better sprinter, potentially milers in Hong Kong, and he looks the one to beat.
Yeah, he's won 3 of his last 5 and going about things very well. That's race number 3. Race number 9 He's also over the mile. This one at Class 3 level. Who's caught your eye?
Tell you what, this is Open with a capital O, if you don't mind. Look, I've got Winning Data, very backable favourite, and this is my early rated price. I could change things around a little bit because in terms of my ratings, there's nothing between Winning Data, who's had a series of wins leading to this, Silver Up, who's knocking on the door, ready to win a race. Flamingo Trillion is back in trip. Maxwell lands on speed, and Beto's another one. Beto, widest runner in this race, and of course he was beaten by Frank Tank. This was rain-affected track. A lot of these, Shane, have form that ties in with one another, and there isn't much between a few of them. I'm expecting conditions to be back to normal on the weekend. I like the map for Winning Data and Flamingo Trillion. What was your thoughts on this race?
Well, it all depends. You can look at it two ways. It all depends how the track's racing, whether they're coming from back. I think a horse who's got a great chance is Talent's Ambition. His last run wasn't too bad, and he's got the blinkers on. And he trialled very well the other day with the blinkers on, and that could help him. He didn't have them on overseas, but as you said, it all depends whether they can come from back. If they're racing up there, you've got Frantic who'll be up there, and of course you've got those other two that you mentioned, Inflaming Trillion and Winning Data, so they're going to be advantaged. If you want to follow horses back a bit, you've got Talent's Ambition, and of course Flagship Warrior, and of course Felon, and of course Talent's Ambition. Beto, of course, is racing. So it's an open race.
It is an open race. I think it'll be like $5 a field there. Fallon's a really interesting run, of course, JT. I mean, Brenton Avdullah's only teamed up 30 times this season with Tony Cruz, 7 winners and a number of placings, and they're really gelling. Okay. And Brendan's doing a very good job. Of course, he'll be riding in Dubai for Tony, and they'll be back here at this meeting. But Fallon, they wanted to go the Derby, didn't work out. I actually think he might be a mile, and I thought he might get over a bit more ground, but I don't mind him back in trip. Sort of bit of D-Day for him back in grade, but that is a very open race.
Yeah, race number 9. The curtain comes down with race number 10. This one over the 1,200 metres, and looks a nice opportunity for Zach Purton to continue a good association that he's got with the Flying Gorgeous.
The starting price profile of Gorgeous Winner, $1.60, $1.40, even money, $1.60. That's his last 4 starts. So he has been popular. He will be again, and he'll be hard to beat, but it's more weight for him to carry. I'm not sure if I'll be as short as the market. You'll have to log in to the website and find out. James Tax Racing, well, I don't think the wet track really suiting him. But Shane, this is an exciting horse for Danny Shum and the team. He's clearly the one to beat. He's won 3 of 5 in Hong Kong, been placed on his other 2. Good ones have beaten him, like Raging Blizzard, had his measure a couple of times, but he's certainly the starting point here.
He's going to be very hard to beat. There's actually not many chances in this race, Clint. So he gets his chance from gate 7. He's going to be in the first 4. James Tack, box seat, he's racing well. Don't know whether he's got the class of the other horse. Kahalo Angel's very well in at the weights and is racing well, but there's not too many. The one who's interesting is I'm a Single Man.
Yes.
He won well the other day. Of course, they took the blinkers off him the other day, and it just worked wonders.
I think they took the hood off him, and it's shown he dropped a long way in the ratings because his form was woeful. Tony, I think, took the hood off him.
And the blinkers.
And then gave him a try, and he jumped out. He went back to the I'm a Single Man that we knew in the old days. I was going to ask you about him because if he runs to that sort of form, he's going to be very, very competitive here. He won easily the other day.
He's still very well rated, Clint, at the weights and this. He can go a lot higher, that horse, at his peak form. But I've got Glorious Win on top. It's not hard to have him in this type of race, Clint. But there'll be no value there for him, that's for sure.
No.
That's a look at 3 of the standout races at Sha Tin on Sunday. Time for the boys to give us their best bets. Diving into the best bets across the course of the card, Hutch, what stands out for you?
Yeah, we can get some cash, I think, relatively early in the card, but the best, I think, on a win line will be Winning Data because I think he'll be backable in that race, and I want to take him in a Quinella with a few runners. So I'm thinking, even though he's a horse that's won 3 of his last 4, let's not forget that 2nd, 3rd and 4th out of his race, the last time he went around, have come out and won, including Devers 12. And I think the Cornellas are Silver Up, Beto and Flamingo Trillion. I think we get some value there. Now, my value bet of the day, we had JD Hayes on the program. I'll have to get him to make a call to Dad because I think David can win the opening race with Zach Purton and Young Horizon. This is a horse that hit form around this time last year. He caught the eye last start when he was well backed, and 1400 Sha Tin is perfect for him. He gets the good run. He's only got 1 or 2 to beat, and I think Young Horizon's ready to win. I think he won by 5 last year when he was ready to go, and it was off the same handicap that he's off tomorrow. So we'll get some cash early there, JT.
How are you making your money this weekend, Shane?
Geez, I don't know until the races are on. Might have to go and rob a store or a bank. Oh, no, the banks are all closed this weekend, aren't they? It's Easter. Can't even do that. I suppose Voyage Samurai. Now, he got beat by Patcha Theatre last start. And, of course, he come out and won well on a Class 3 on the weekend. So the form around's him very good. He's going to get a good run. He could even lead if there's one other horse in there. Probably that would take him on. What is it? Let me get that up. Race 6. River Views. If he doesn't take him on, he'll lead and he'll be very hard to run down. It's a nice horse. 2 runs have been very good.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Has Richo passed on any best bets from the stall gift or anything like that?
No, he hasn't passed on any. He might be in a bit of trouble, JT, because Shane done a fantastic job, Jimmy Tzaferis alongside me. I think he's been outstanding for the show.
Mate, I'll tell you something. We've filmed this in an hour and a quarter, right? When Richo's on, it takes 2 hours. There's that many mistakes. We've got to go back and pre-record more. So you've done a marvellous job, and it's an honour having you, and it's just nice to look at someone who's got hair and not that glare all the time off the TV.
Whack.
I could say a lot of things, but I want to stay in Richo's good book, so I'm just going to say nothing. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate the sentiment.
That's okay.
And thank you, JT, as well.
No worries. Easter weekend coming up. Hutch, much on for you and the clan other than, keeping a close eye on the racing?
No, but it is Easter, and just a reminder as well, if you're going to the sales, the Group 1 gold mine is something that you need to get hold of with all the pedigrees, etc. Group1goldmine.com. It's a fantastic tool if you are going to Easter and you are going to buy a yearling. But no, that pretty much wraps it up. We've gone through the show really well, and congratulations once again. Much appreciated you joining us.
No, great to be with you. I reckon if you punch in the Winx's Piero filly, the first of her progeny to go through the ring at Easter, I reckon if you punch that into Group 1 gold mine, it would tell you that she's going to be a pretty talented filly. Shane?
There's one quick thing. Clint, did Richo go to the stall gift to bring back memories of his childhood?
I think he might be going and working and putting a statue of himself up there, Shane. I'm really not sure, but we've probably given him enough of a whack as it is.
That's always Easter Sunday, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, there's a plaque of Richo on the main street of Stall. They'll build a statue for Hutchi if he can repeat the tipping performance from last week's Hong Kong Derby. That's all for this week's edition of the Triple Trio. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you find a few winners. We'll see you next time.